Hello and Allahu Akbar, the Baha'i greeting to all the people on the planet, whether Baha'is or not. My name is Abbas Tamori. For the record, time is 11:29 on 18th of September. Previously I spoke about the value of unity, or I should say I try to read along with you the only translation that was available by Marzi Gil, and I try to bring some suggestive and corrective measures in retranslating some of the words so we can basically read it. Okay, tonight I'm going to be discussing some of the actual content of this matter of these seven valleys. Many Baha'is, Iranians, Persians and otherwise are bamboozled really by this writing, and a lot of questions arise in their head. This is what I'm trying to explain this. Anyways, before we actually get to the value of the unity, Baha'u'llah explains the first three valleys, which is seeking, love and knowledge, or he calls them in Arabic tahdid. Tahdid with two types of hair, two types of H. This is an Arabic H. Tahdid, which means limitations. And so of the seven valleys, he's talking three of them are limitations. They call it it's a terminology, which really it means that in the first valley, the person who's seeking, a seeker, is not a lover. It may become a lover. And a lover may not understand knowledge or understanding or wisdom, okay? That is not the wisdom of material world or social world, the wisdom, of the third dimensions. That's really what it is, because these three are kind of different. But if you look at it, a little bit carefully, between the four valleys and seven valleys, you can say seven valleys consist of a seven process, seven steps. Four valleys consist of four types of individuals, four types of psyches, four types of people, a classifications of the people in the spiritual realm. That's what four valleys is. Because the first of the four valleys is, he says he's explaining those who are talib, which means the seekers. And what do they go with? They go with desires. Not the ego, but desires. There, the word nafs doesn't mean self. It means desires. They just keep their desires. Whatever they desire, they do. The second valley, which is the valley of love, it is coinciding with the third one. In the fourth valley classifications are the lovers. Okay, they go with their heart. And the third valley, which is the valley of knowledge, understanding, in the seven valleys, is really the second group of the people that they're the intellectuals. So there's a good correlation between these three. Basically, the people in the past, and Baha'u'llah, approach the same thing. He says there are three ways to go. There are people, psychologically, they are the people that they go with their desires and what they like and they feel, they go for it. Others, they examine things. They want to go with the wisdom to see, what's wise and what's good for them and what not. And then yet another one, the lovers, they have to fall in love with the person that they're in love. And then their approach is love, and their motive is that beloved, the one that they see. And I've looked at it. Really, there are three types of peoples. Among the Baha'is I've seen the Baha'is that they're just simply erotic. They just go with what they desires, you know. There's no system of organization with them. They are chaotic people. I've seen lots of them. You probably have noticed them. They are those first group of people. They call them seekers. They just seek something and they go for it. Very active, very chaotically. I've seen others that they are very intellectual. They like to examine things, ask questions, refer to. They don't just jump into something. I've seen a lot of those in my life, among the Baha'i. Usually they're always falling behind, always. Among my 5 brothers, the one intellectual, which is the second one, he could not become Baha'i because he's having too many questions unanswered. And I told him there are other approaches. You don't have to wait here to find out if it is right or wrong by your brain. You have to question your own understanding that may not be able to understand anyways. Therefore, in order to help your understanding, you take the approach of desires, seeking. And you just simply says, I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm going to try it. I'm not going to find out if the Baha'i faith is correct or not. I heard so much, I'm not convinced. So I'm just going to say I'm a Baha'i. For a week or two, for 2 months, for 3 months, and I'm going to follow the order of Baha'u'llah. If it falls in place, then I know I'm a Baha'i. Maybe then my mind changes, you see. Others, they're the people that they always have to have a tangible person. They are the hero worshippers. They follow role models. They're lovers. I was one of them myself too. I always looked at, whether it was Rumi or Attar or Bayezid or Shams. There are people always. But my extension was not just among the Iranians. I liked also Fyodor Dostoevsky. I liked, Leon Tolstoy's. But then when it comes to Europe, I was very much liking as well Victor Hugo's, our romantic writers. But so is Charles Dickens and Shakespeare's, is extending. And I see people like Gandhi and others are just as great, not just certain people that we know in my country. So all these 3 groups of people, whether they go with their desires or whether they follow with their intellectualism, and when they follow, they have to have a role model, they will all end up going through the 7 valleys if they want to go to God. Whether their approach is love or knowledge or anything, one way or other, they have to fall in love. That means you have to accept some kind of a role model to be enchanted with. And that role model, whoever it is, they have to grow out of him to the point that no longer they see him attractive. That means they have reached a certain place. When you understand your role model is not attractive more to you, you have gone into the valley of understanding. You see? Except when it is the manifestation of God. Because honestly, the more you know them, the more you find out you don't know. It is so difficult for me to understand the psychology of Baha'u'llah. Even when he washes his hand, he is not a normal man like you and I in any aspect of his life. His concept about things, the smallest little things, we're just missing the color of it, you see. It's like we are color blind when we have that. The way he approaches is so different. He truly, truly loves his enemies. It's very hard to love somebody who's torturing you, who's cutting your hand, who's beating you up. How would you love a person like that? You have to approach through understanding, try to see that, okay, if you were him, wouldn't you do that? If you had his background and his education, wouldn't you do this? try to justify his misgiving as something that it could have happened to you too. Therefore, you feel pity for him, and then you try to help him out. But loving him is very difficult, even for me. But Baha'u'llah seriously loves them. All I can see is exactly like a mother that the child, whatever, it's a heroin addict or it's crazy, literally. But the mother doesn't give up. She just loves him. And mothers nowadays in the West has different meaning, as we go it deteriorates. But in the past it wasn't like this. Mother's love is big, it's huge. So that sort of a love is there. It's even bigger, a lot bigger than your mother. Your mother is really a tube, you came through it. When you're talking to Baha'u'llah, he actually made you out of himself. So it's way, way bigger. So the point of the matter was then, these three valleys, the first three valleys, are really the first three valleys of four valleys. The 7 valleys is 3 valleys, and 4 valleys are 4 valleys. But the first 3 valleys in both tablets, one is about seeking, the other one is about seekers. The second one is about love, and the other one is about lovers. The next one is about knowledge. In the 4 valleys, talks about knowledgeables. You see, 7 steps, 7 process, yet 4 types of wayfarers, shall we say. And I've seen these people. You can see this first tree in a dimension, in the material dimensions. Let's say in the physics, an object in the space can either go this way, or back and forth, or up and down. That's why we say 3-dimensionals. And the 4th dimension is dimension of a space. Where an object, whatever it is, once it starts to go into space, it can create another object out of its motion, another picture, another graph. That's become the 4th dimensions. In the social aspect of life, we have the same type of things. Things are either economical, material, refers to our body in 1 dimension, or they are social dimension, which is our need towards other people, other environment. All right, the 2nd dimension, or a relationship in the dimension that we have towards who has created us. So there is an economical, a material, social, and a spiritual dimensions. Same as the three valleys when you look at it in the spiritual realm. The 4th dimension is a space in the physics. The 4th dimension in the spiritual, in a man's life, is success. When it results, comes out of this. In the spiritual dimensions, this tree, the first tree, if you go, the 4th dimension is actually the 7 valleys. When you reach to who you are, you define yourself, you find out who you are. In the 4 valleys is the same thing. The dimensions of the seekers, where they go with their desires, the lovers, they go with their heart, and intellectual people, they go with their mind. If they reach through, let's say, these 7 valleys, they will go to the 4th valley, which Baha'u'llah call it the valley of the cause, where you join the government of God. 7 valleys is the same thing, where you become selfless. Like an internet connection, your computer shows and receives the pictures of an actual being somewhere else. They're both the same. One is just a picture, but it's real. Whereas the other one is a real human being somewhere, let's say sitting. But you get that picture. That is the valley of powerlessness. So, we're on the 4th valley, so I've written a few things here. I've written here for my note, not to remember to say that valley of unity is not something we do. In the valley of seeking, we have to seek. In the valley of love, we have to find the lover and sacrifice, what we have. In the valley of knowledge, we learn, see. But what do we learn is the fourth valley. What do we learn is the fourth valley. What do we learn? What is the result of these three valleys is the fourth valley, is the fifth and sixth valleys. To understand the unifications of this universe and unification of your ideas, your mentality, your point of view, focusing on the truth. That's what this valley is all about. So, and as your understanding gets bigger, as a result of that focusing the unifications of your ideology about the fact they correlate each other's, you truly are able to map out where you are and where God is and what this universe is, understand it. Then you understand there's a huge picture of unification, of unity exists in this universe. And as a result, you come into the fifth valley and you feel rich. You see? You see, you and the United States, you and Canada, you as a citizen of England are one. Therefore, you see yourself as a rich person, as if the whole country is yours, as if you are the country. That is when that sense comes in, which I explain a little bit more later. So, and depending on amount of the seeking that we have, proportion to that, we find love, and proportionally we find we understand. Our brain, our mind explodes, expands based on that proportionally. And as a result, proportionally, we understand this picture of the unifications of the universe. So that's what the valley is. So, but I'm going to have to read the writing of Baha'u'llah. Where did I put it? My master, about this issue. It's very important to understand this valley of unity. Baha'u'llah has in the number, let me see, my Roman numbers is not very good. L means 50 and 3x are 10, that's 80. IV means 4, so it's 84. From the gleaning of the writing of Baha'u'llah, I chose this from the gleaning of the writing of Baha'u'llah, number 84. This is the Master of the Universe himself, he speaks. Quotes, "Regard thou the one true God as one who is apart from and immeasurably exalted above all created things." So it is apart, it's not apart. Apart. The whole universe reflected his glory, while he is himself independent and transcendeth his creatures. Very important matter here. Continue to quote. This is the true meaning of divine unity. He who is the eternal truth is the one power who exercises undisputed sovereignty over the world of being, whose image is reflected in the mirror of entire creation. All existence is dependent upon him, and from him is derived the source of the sustenance of all things. This is what is meant by divine unity. That is its fundamental principle. I'm going to be speaking about this a little bit more. This is the hallmark of definition of this fourth valley. Now we're going further. Quote, continue quotation. Some deluded by their idle fancies have conceived all created things as associates and partners of God. I'd like to read this again. Some deluded by their idle fancies have conceived all created things as associates and partners of God, and imagined themselves to be the exponents of His unity. By Him who is the one true God, such men have been and will continue to remain the victims of blind imitation, and are to be numbered with them that have restricted and limited the conception of God. The 2 points now. Point first, this is the 2 point. I'm going to continue. I'm not interrupting. Now, who are we, he says? He is a true believer in divine unity. He is a true believer in divine unity who, far from confusing duality with oneness, refuseth to allow any notion of multiplicity to becloud his conception of the singleness of God, who will regard the divine being as one, who by his very nature transcendeth the limitations of numbers. Fantastic. Oh my God, this is it. He sums it up. And final part of this. Now, what is the belief? The essence of belief in divine unity consisteth in regarding Him who is the manifestation of God and Him who is the invisible, the inaccessible, the unknowable essence as one and the same. Let's read it again. The essence of belief in divine unity consisteth in regarding Him who is the manifestation of God and Him who is the invisible, the inaccessible, the unknowable essence as one and the same. By this is meant that whatever pertaineth to the former, all His acts and doings, whatever He ordaineth or forbiddeth, should be considered in all their aspects and under all circumstances and without any reservation as identical with the will of God Himself. This is the loftiest station to which a true believer and the unity of God can ever hope to achieve. Fantastic, isn't it? Beautiful. What can I say? This is it. The whole thing is mapped out. But in my life, I have seen many Baha'is. I'm not talking about non-Baha'is. I'm not going to mention the name of these Baha'is, but I've associated with a good number of them. Persian and otherwise, Indian, Persian, Canadian, who definitely God, in my understanding, is okay. They are. God loves them. They go definitely in heaven, no question asked. But the same people, when you're asking them about to picture this out, picture that what just Baha'u'llah said here. Tell me, what is this universe? What is this God? What is the will? What is this? What is all of that? Every one of them, they have their different picture. Conflicting ones. And this is what I have seen. Are they then having been in the Valley of Unity? I guess not. To me, the Valley of Unity is to reach a conclusive understanding that if hundreds of you, 1,000 years from now and 1,000 years before, when you get together and when you speak, you're all talking the same thing. It might be different variation in how you say, but it will be immediately understood that you all have got the pictures. And then you are in the Valley of Unity. This is the difference between imagination and the truth. You might see something in the air, as Joseph Smith says, I saw God. It's imagination. Why? Because we tell him, Mr. Smith, we are people like you. We can't see what you see. Therefore, what you see is exclusive to you. You are imagining, sir. If it's true, everyone can see it. If it's imagination, just one person can see it. Others can't see it. This is the difference between imagination and the truth. I was acquainted in very early childhood, out of curiosity. I found out, never mind knowing God and what God is and what's the ideology, what's the true ideology, but there's one man in this world from Germany, Mr. Karl Marx, have actually conclusively, based on the books of God, has denied the existence of God. Not about the proving, but completely negates such a thing exists. And till today, my dear friends, I have not found one single person to be able to answer him. I haven't found it. For 17 years myself, I had no answer. A gay boy, Christopher, he asked me a question in Cornwall, Ontario, long time ago. Gosh, it's about 18 years ago. That when I attempt to answer, I found the answer myself. I shared that with you before, but I'm telling you. Now I'm going to go refer to what these books are and what others have said, and this and that would be regurgitations. Today, it's 21st century, we're talking one-on-one, we want to know what the truth is. Mr. Karl Marx, in his books and others that have followed him, he says a very simple thing. He says there's three statements about a thing. He says, per se, this pen. If you want to apply the word is to this pen, that the pen is, pen exists, there's three statements. This pen has to occupy an empty space. Earth exists because it occupies an empty space. This pen exists, it's occupying an empty space. It's not going into something else. A space of its own. It does move. In fact, everything in Earth has many movements, as you know. Earth moves several things, takes things along with it, and that itself goes about 10 different movements in Earth. And it's in time. It's created one day, and one day it will die. Okay? Everything has a beginning and end. Everything is in time. Everything moves, everything occupies space. Then he says, Mr. Divine Doctor, religious man, is your God actually and literally occupies an empty space? Every man of the religious understanding says no. Because if it does, then it can be identified. Okay, he says. Does he move? You say, not like the material. Not the way we know of. No. Okay, he says. Is he in time? He says, no, there's no beginning and no end. He says, brother, that's the definition of nothing. You just told me nothing exists because what you said is God is nothing. How can nothing be responsible for everything that we have? Tell me then, what is God? Up to date, I have found no answer to this from nobody. As I said, I had thought about this. What is this man saying? Very, very beautifully he argues with religious books of the past. No Baha'is, nobody has answered this. I went and answered it, and I found an answer. I shared this answer before, but I shared it tonight with you. I said to Mr. Karl Marx, or I will say to him if he was around, that your three statements about the matter that has to occupy an empty space, to be in time and motion, is correct, but it's not complete. I can think of another dimension to it. What would that be? That matter is always composed. There's nothing in this universe that is not made out of at least two things. At least. If you look at atom, you know it consists of 500-600 particles. Particles are made out of quarks. They have strange names, really. One of their name is a strange, charm, up, down, top, bottom. There are 6 quarks. So far that we know of. Murray Gell-Mann proposes quark theory, that even proton is made out of 6 quarks. So there's nothing in this universe that's not made out of 2 things. And this is my problem. If it is made, as he says, if you take the 4 coordinate out of the universe and go with the first 3, then the universe does not need to have God. Because 2 things will combine, will have an accident with each other, will combine, will confuse, will diffuse. That too will create this universe. Everywhere in the universe happening, when there's a proton, when there's one particle, virtual particle that does not exist, but it has a potential existence. It is a potential existence. A virtual particle, 2 virtual particles, they will make a new particle, a real particle. They meet a proton, they create an atom. These atoms, they see each other's, become close 4 of hydrogen, make helium, and goes on till we are formed. We don't need God. But if universe, with my coordinates, it is always composed, then the question comes, then the universe starts from point 2 or point 1. Point 2, there is movement, because 2 shows that something was broken into 2, therefore a movement taken. Measurement of the movement is time, therefore a time is taken. Then they occupy empty space. But if there is 1, what do we do about that? Where is that 1 coming from? With 1, there's no motion required. There has to be 2, then you say something broken into 2. But if there is 1, you would never know anything is happening here. There's no time for 1. If there's no time, then there's no motion also. Because what is time? Time is the measuring of a motion. You know, from point A to B, 100 meters took 1 second. But there's no motion, then there's no time. It might occupy a space, but that cannot create this universe. And if you say the universe starts at point 2, as Marx says, that can't be physically, logically possible. There has to be point 1, but point 1 cannot create this universe. What do we do then? We need 2 in order to explain the motions. But 2 logically is wrong. There's got to be 1. But if there's 1, then there's no motion, no time. What do we do? I concluded we have to have 2. But 1 physical and 1 non-physical. one from outside of this matter. Whatever this matter is, the entire universe go in the very beginning, there's one thing in this universe. That one thing, material cannot create this universe. If there are two, it is possible. But prior to two, there has to be one. If it is one, you have to assume two because it's not possible. But there is nothing except that one. You have to assume on the other side of the matter, independent of it, there is a metaphysical being, metaphysical realm. You have to suppose, assume an existence of on the other side, logically, mathematically, in order to create a pair. Hence the beginning of time and matter. But these two, physics and non-physics, puts us back in the original place again now. Now we have a universe of one particle metaphysic and one particle physics. One point of physical, we call it prime matter. One point of metaphysical, prime will. They're joining, the motion takes place. The universe begins. But these two cannot be again the beginning. What do? We already went to the end of the material world. We went to the end of the metaphysical world. We ended up with two. Mathematically, we have to assume there is another point where these two come from. That would be God. See? You can go and break down this universe to its beginning. There was one point. Then, mathematically applied, you understood there must have been a metaphysical point too. See? So your entire supposition about being and nothing ends to 2 points. God is beyond both this existence. He cannot be even assumed, because assumption ended when you came to one point. Your assumption was there's another point, but that point had to be working with these 2 points. Both of them together are needed to create this universe. Both of them cannot be God. What is the realm of God then? Something completely beyond this. This is why Baha'u'llah says, apart, independent, he says. Okay? So, then, this is the first point that I'm going to, after I explain this, I'm going to bring just partial points in this writing of Baha'u'llah. It says, regard thou the one true God as one who is apart from and immeasurably exalted above all created things. This is point 1. Now, the second point, he brings these wrong ideologies, wrong tawheed, wrong unity, where people are called pantheists, or pantheism, like Carl Sagan. God bless him and God forgive him. That Baha'u'llah says, they said that, well, since we can't understand that doesn't exist, we're all here, everything put all together, united, entire universe, all of us are one being, all together it's God. I explained that in the beginning. Pantheism is a wrong idea. You can refer to it. That's what Baha'i faith doesn't accept. In the Baha'i faith, there is a unity in the universe of God with the prime matter, with the prime will, combination of the two creating the universe. But in this unity, God, just where we are as a people, is beyond being and nothing. Being was one point of the material prime matter. No thing is the prime will or metaphysical point. Both of these points is about, imaginations as far as it can go. But beyond which there's something else that mathematically we have to accept, a dimension that cannot be understood. That's a supposition to somewhere very, very, it's not a word of where. Where ends, why ends. Why and where and how is all applied to matter and the non-matter. There's nothing beyond these two that can be go. We can either assume Abbas exists, or we can assume he doesn't exist. There's not a third way. Is this universe exist or it doesn't exist? Exist is where you are. None, if not doesn't exist, then you're on the other side, metaphysics. But God is beyond existence and non-existence. So in the unity of the Baha'i, we believe there is three levels of God, His will, prime will, and the matter. They're all one, but God in this unity is independent from both of these. How do we know? How do we go about these things? Logically, we are here and we don't know nothing. We look at ourselves. We say that we are intelligent. Yes, we have a willpower, we have a desire to survive. As a result, we make this glass. It's our creation. Is this creation me? Is this glass me? No. The glass cannot understand I'm me. It's a dead compared to me. It might be made out of billions of molecules and electrons, and they're all moving around, but does not have the comprehension even when it exists, even holding it. It's not alive. But I am living, this is dead. How do I make this? By my will. I think about it. I write my thinking in a book. That book, my willpower, makes the glass. Neither the book nor the glass, it's me. I'm independent of both of them. Therefore, we say that the same way God is. This is what in the Bible, this is why it's the book of God. It says God made man in the image of himself. Which means, just like us, we make something and we use our willpower and borrow material from the universe, of course, and we reshape it and make a fridge. Neither the fridge, nor the will and the desire and the thinking and the ideas that make the fridge is us. God is then the same thing. Is something, as Baha'u'llah says, immeasurably high, beyond that. So the second point of this tablet, which is the delusions of others that they're thinking, putting himself together along God as one, is wrong. So, and then the third point, what is the true belief? He says, quote, he is a true believer in divine unity who, far from confusing duality with oneness, refuseth to allow any notion of multiplicity to becloud his conception of the singleness of God, who will regard the divine being as one who by his very nature transcended the limitations of number. So when we say there is one God, we don't mean that we can number it. Imagine we live entire universe, existence. Now we're at edge of the universe. This side will look, there are universe and there's galaxies. This side there's nothing. Now we look into the nothing. And we're asking, by God, how many things are in this nothing? The word how many is a wrong word because there is nothing. Where is this coming from is wrong. Because there is no where. It's all darkness. There's nothing there. Absolute void. Why is it there is wrong? Because there is nothing there. To say why is it there? All the world breaks down there. In that void. Count how many void. How many voids are there? How many nothings are there? This is why when we say God is one, we mean all we don't know is one. What we cannot comprehend is one thing. The answer to all what we don't know is one thing. Those are one, not God. God is not a number. This is why Baha'u'llah says, transcended the limitations of the numbers. Understand that? God is one, oneness of the God in the Baha'i faith is not a mathematical thing. Is what we do not know is one thing. And the last point is very important now in this unity, that all of a sudden when we come down here, we fall into a situation that, look, there's no way to know God, then might as well not to be there. If we can never ever to know Him, might as well not to be there. It brings us to the point of despair. Baha'u'llah helps on the last statement of this tablet. See? What a master he is. What is a Baha'i belief? What is a true believer? Who is in the fourth valley? This is the fourth point in this one. You know, His Divine Majesty says, the essence of the belief in divine unity consisteth in regarding Him who is the manifestation of God, which is Baha'u'llah, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, and Him who is the invisible, the inaccessible, the unknowable essence, which is God, as one and the same. He says, when you look at Baha'u'llah, exactly He is God. This is. Now it seems contradictory, isn't it? No, it's not. He explains. One and the same. And he explains. By this is meant that whatever pertaineth to the former, which is Baha'u'llah, all his acts and doings, whatever he ordained, forbidden, should be considered in all their aspects and under all circumstances and without any reservation as identical with the will of God Himself. Remember, people, will of God, not God. Will of God, not God. With the will of God Himself. This is the loftiest station to which a true believers in the unity of God can ever hope to achieve. Now all of a sudden the door is opened. This means Baha'u'llah tells us, hey, don't be disappointed. God has a relationship with you. It's called Baha'u'llah. It's called Jesus Christ. Once you know He is here and He is Him, then you know there is a relationship. Don't feel like Mickey Mouse that cannot understand Walt Disney at all. In his realm, there is no Walt Disney. This is not like that, Baha'u'llah says. No, He actually comes in. He makes a cartoon of Himself, this Walt Disney, this God, and comes into the cartoon world and shakes the hand of Mickey. And Mickey says, wow, you are my creator. He says, yes. But it's a cartoon of the reality. It is exactly Him though, in every way and shape. What this means is that the will of God is the creator, not God. God is the source. Will of God. God acts through His will. So was I. You can't call me a creator, a doer. Why can I do that? Because I have a willpower. I have a soul. I'm not dead. The fact that God is alive is there is a Baha'u'llah. He is the soul of God. Allah is nothing. Baha makes Allah alive. Jesus Christ. Because there is a Jesus, then the God is alive. It is His willpower. His Holiness Muhammad is the will of God. He's the prime will of God. So is Moses. So is Krishna. So is Buddha. So is few others that we have to know. Not too many, but there are few. In Africa and in South America, we have to know them yet. They will come up. But they were cycles of the Prophet. Cycle of Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, ended. There's a cycle in Iran, Aryan prophets. They were Iranian, ancient Iranian, Zoroastrian, they know them. It starts from Tumars, which is like Adam. And then it comes to Jamshid, Tahmores, Jamshid, Feridun, and ends to Zoroaster. Zoroaster is the last prophet of that cycle. Like in Hinduism, it starts from Manu and it comes right down to where? To Rama, to Krishna, and then to Buddha. They were all manifestation of Vishnu. The last one of them is Buddha. In the cycle of Adam, the last one is Muhammad. In the cycle of Zoroaster is Zoroaster. There is also a cycle, according to Dr. Munji, that was talking to me 20 years ago, in Africa and in America. Who knows, the source of this pyramid could be them. So, but they're only these ones. They are exactly God in the earth, walking. Definitely God. Nothing but God. Is it really? No. But it is. If I have a hologram of me, you call me, there are some phones right now, when you call them, a hologram of me comes right on the table and talks to you. Hologram. You ask anything from that hologram, it's me. Baha'u'llah is that hologram of God. Baha'u'llah is God on the television. Baha'u'llah is God on the internet. Therefore, definitely it's him. Every act of him, it's him. If you have the Prime Minister on television and he speaks to you and says, "Oh, Canadian," it is him at the point, at that moment. When he moves, when he does, his clothes, it's all him. There is no doubt. Right in the court of law, his picture will be proven it's him. Acceptable to the law. He's better than facts. It is him. In the same manner, Baha'u'llah says, understand, that is me is the will of God. Not again God. God, we said, has a will, essence of all the non-physicality, and then prime matter, the essence of all the physicality. The one that is responsible for the creation. It is him. Baha'u'llah is the big one. He's so huge. He's immeasurably high. Now you want a psychology to know him. I would be petrified if he wants to look at me the way he would look that shows his reality. He always puts an avatar in front because no one can, honest to goodness, to look at his eyes when he really wants to tell you, I am Baha'u'llah. You would piss in your pants right away, whoever you are. It is impossible to get it. It's beyond imaginations. They hired the guy to kill Baha'u'llah. He just looked on the back. He was a professional murderer. Killed many people. He said, no problem, give me the money, I'll do it. They tell him, good, go kill him. And Baha'u'llah just looked on the back, the knife fell off his hand. He came back and said, I don't know, it's something magical, I can't do it. Azalja tried to kill Baha'u'llah. So, he is not, my friend, anything that you know. Do not be cheated by your own brain, that you see him as a body and works and talks and this and that. Not at all. It's an avatar of a real being. What aliens? All these aliens in all over the entire universe, they're nothing just like us. They all think and they all create, maybe a few years older or a few years younger. They might shape like a snake or like a worm or like a fish, but they're always there. There's jealousy and transgressions, everything in their own ways. That's nothing new to me to see them. But to see the Lord of the universe actually walked on the planet Earth, that's it. There is nothing bigger than this. If you want to be proud of your planet in this universe. Countless. The word is infinite, brother. infinite amount of planets he has. But he has stepped on this one. What honor greater than this? That we are a part of the planet. That the very Creator stepped on it in the form of a man. And what did we do to him? Oh my God. Well, so therefore, once we understand these 3 points that I brought to you, prime matter, prime will, and beyond it is God, and the relationship of God to the planet, which is Baha'u'llah, and recognition of Baha'u'llah. I put a video there. There's at least 9 good reasons why Baha'u'llah is him. Then you know it is him. Now you have completed the valley of unity. You've understood it. This has to be the result of your seeking, of your loving. The result of love is to get rid of the beloved. There's only one true beloved. It's him, Baha'u'llah. Today, it was Bob before. Then it was Muhammad before. It was Christ before. It was Moses. It was Abraham. It was Noah. It was the first Adam in the planet. It is Manu. It is Rama. He is the Krishna. He is the Buddha. And Quetzalcoatl. He is. Assuming the body of a man to the respect of a mankind. You see this? Imagine if God comes in the planet in the form of a snake and there's nothing you can do to him. He says, I'm God, he eats few of you, beats and kills few others, and it doesn't matter what you do to him, you cannot do nothing to him. He's God. You see him, but you could go through him, it doesn't affect. And forcefully make all of you to obey. That doesn't sound like a real God that I know of. Why is that? It's because me, as an intelligent man with the willpower, I feel the loneliness. Of course then my God is the same thing which is intelligent and feels the loneliness. We as a human being, we've seen the way we have come through, and even right now as we learn, we go to university, get educated, we become better. We're not violent. We're not harsh. The more we know, the better we become. So the ascendancy of man, evolution of man, in his understanding makes him better. But his loneliness always remains if there's nobody around. My God is a lonely God. And your God comes here. His problem is that his child is billions and billions and trillions, is immeasurably smaller than him. How could his child even recognize the Father who is 20 billion years older than you? He may not even have a body anymore. How would you recognize him? So Baha'u'llah made this life short, just 70 years. So if we can understand it, pass through this wormhole of the universe, just go 70 years and jump onto the other side. But on the other side we have to exist. If it can exist, it's like a big meteor comes through the earth. If it's a small size, as it enters to the earth, it just vanishes, burns away. It has to be seriously big to be able after vanishing and evaporating, part of it falls under the ground. We are like this. If our understanding, knowledge, our humanity is not flourishing, it's not big enough, we will not be able to pass through this wormhole to reach on the other side, to be alive even. Because the other side, death is bullshit. People that don't know what death is. No one knows that. And as soon as you go there, you wake up, you say, where am I? I'm in a hospital or something. They tell you, well, it's okay, be there. And as the time passes, you want to figure out where is this place, and you see all of a sudden Yul Brynner pass by, say, my God, Yul Brynner is dead, therefore I am dead. And then you ask, I am dead? People say, you are? How are you dead? Are you? And you say, no, I'm not. They say, but then you say, where was this Toronto I was in? Oh, Toronto. Oh, you mean the dream you had? Was it a dream? Not really. It wasn't a dream. It was real. You were in a womb. You came out of it. But who are you? What came out of? Is he able to think? Can you see? 99% of the people. No, man. Go down. So far at this point, maybe 1 in 100 million, 10 million maybe. Somebody might be alive on the other side. And then you're on the other side, just like you. Why is this becomes unreal to you? Because you wake up. It is real when you are not waking up, you're in it. As soon as you woke up, in another setting, then the old setting becomes unreal. You start to doubt where you are. There's no death there, nothing, but the best chances that you might get to be again just a human. You're in a farm with others. All of a sudden you see one person came from the sky, went just like a Superman, and everybody looks at it. Who was that? They say, those are a rare species. Very rare. That they can fly. They're not seen. Sometimes they see it. Those were the believers who believed in Baha'u'llah, and they start to teach the cause of God every minute of the day. Do it, people. Big loss is waiting. I guess I'm concluding that Valley of the Unity is to come finally. If you're a seeker, if you're a lover, if you're an intellectual, you pass through this process of the seeking and the love and developing wisdom, which is the brain really, a spiritual brain. Now as a result of it, you have to understand. The first thing you have to understand is this big picture called the unity of God, which really exists, but you have to be able to map it out for yourself. If you understand what I say, you're able then. You already are there. I just reminded you. If you can't understand what I say, because you haven't developed the brain yet, the spiritual brain to get the picture. And it is so basic, brother, like 1, 2, 3, that all the souls, whether there are no educations in their life at all, whether they were born 10 million years ago, or they were born 1 billion years ago, have no qualm with this picture. They all know, yeah, that's what it is. But I have not seen it. In a lot of Baha'is I've seen that when I ask questions from them on the very unifications and unity, they say ideas that it's not there. Are they going to hell because of the wrong ideology? Actually not. They just go in heaven ignorantly. That's all. But they're not going to go to hell because of bad ideology. Not at all. You go to hell because of your actions. However, this picture is not learned by reading books. even if you copy what I say, you don't feel it. But one point, you get a picture. You may say the same thing, but in a different way. But it is that picture that you're drawn. 10 people are drawing a picture in the center. When you look at it, everybody draw the object in the center, or the different variations. This picture is to be earned. This is why it's a part of the 7 valleys. It's a significance of understanding. It's a license for having brain. Valley of unity. I'm going to be talking about the other 3 valleys afterwards too. Allahu Akbar.